Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this regularly televised study session. And we do have a number of action items of the St. Bernard Valley Board of Education. And if everyone would rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us on this very hot summer evening, and especially like to thank all of the students who are here, still engaged in school activities this far into the summer. So we appreciate you being here. We are going to start the evening with a presentation from a group of students that are here tonight, and then after we hear from the students, we'll come back to audience participation on non-agenda items. And I'm going to turn it over to Don to introduce the group.
Okay. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Well, one of the things that we're very excited about is many of the things that are happening in this school system and in our communities center around science, technology, math, engineering, and in this case, we're going to hear from a group of students around robotics. We have the VEX Robotics team here, and John Long is going to introduce the members of the team and talk a little bit about the work that you've done in partnership with the schools, and we're very appreciative.
Thanks, I appreciate that. As Superintendent mentioned, I'm a parent of two students in the school district at Silver Creek High School. I'm also a VEX Robotics coach, and I'm also an event partner for VEX Robotics. And last year, with the help of the superintendent, I was able to get the Trail Ridge Middle School Longmont VEX event off the ground. And we were also able to do a Flagstaff VEX event at Flagstaff Academy. And this year I'm working on trying to get Westview to have an event. And last year both of our events were pretty much overbooked, so we think there's room for a couple of these in our school district. So we're really excited about that. But the main reason I'm here today is to introduce a group of kids who have a really interesting presentation about their experience at the VEX Robotics World Championship. And to set the stage for this, you need to know that qualifying for VEX Robotics World Championships is very, very difficult to do. In the state of Colorado, we had about 50 teams last year, or maybe a little bit more than that, and there were 6 teams that were allowed to go to the World Championship in the traditional competition format. Some of these teams made it in other ways through programming skill challenges and online challenges. So it's hard to get there, and it would have been an interesting story in itself to say that we sent from the school district an elementary school team, a middle school team, and a high school team. That would have been a great story in and of itself, but all 3 of those teams came back with awards from the World Championship. I appreciate the support of the school district and the VEX Robotics program, and I hope this presentation tonight will help further the insight that you have about this program. So before we get going completely, I'd like to introduce Tristan Tanner from the middle school team, just to drive his robot around just for a little bit here to give you an idea of what these robots are like. This is from the middle school division. And while he's doing that, if Garrett Height from the high school team could come up here and introduce the teams. I'll turn it over to the students now.
Okay, so the teams from the St. Bernard Valley School District are my team, which is Arkham Asylum members from Altona Middle School and Silver Creek High School. And then that team right there is Ninja X, which they're from Altona Middle School. They're the middle school team. And then the IQ team is the Kickbot, and they're from Eagle Crest Elementary School.
That is really cool.
So, thank you.
So, and then I'll have Angela Long come up and start a presentation here. But before she gets going there, just wanted to let you know that this is a pretty typical robot you'd see at World Championships. They're using pneumatics, sensors, all kinds of, a lot of math went into the gearing on this robot and the drivetrain. And the goal of this game was to pick up these sacks that you see of different colors and score them in different level devices. So this is just kind of a little sneak peek of what the robots look like there. They're pretty impressive.
And for those who are potentially watching at home and aren't able to see, we're being entertained by a robot driving around the school boardroom.
Supervised student with
We're very
a
easily
license.
entertained.
Do you have a driver's license?
We went to the VEX World Championship that took place in a large convention center in Anaheim, California. VEX is a robotics competition where middle school and high school students design, create, and program robots to compete in a certain game. There were over 8,000 teams and only 720 made it to the world competition. That is less than 10% of all teams worldwide, and the teams came from a total of 29 different countries. We were in the high school division, which had about 400 teams that we competed with in skills and online challenges, matches, and several different judged awards. My team made it through the Programming Skills Challenge, and we placed 13th in the world. We qualified at the very last event of the season at the Flagstaff Academy. And the VEX IQ team, the Kickbots, I was there to mentor them, and they're made up of 4 third graders who are now going into 4th grade. They won the Energy Award, which is given to a team that shows great enthusiasm at the competition. And that's the robot over there.
Okay, so at the beginning of the competition, there's this thing called the Parade of Nations. It's sort of like an opening ceremony type thing. So each of the countries is introduced there, and like one member from each team is allowed to join the parade. Like as you can see here, there's a Chinese team and an American team, and like each one of them is from a different team. So there's tons of different teams there, and like further showing that, like this is all the high school booths down in the bottom left corner there. That's like just that's one small part of the overall high school division placed. So like each booth is like a normal convention booth, and we're all assigned our spot by our team number, and they're all like rows and rows of just teams like being represented there. And so, like, at our booth, we had opportunities to outreach to, like, elementary school kids that came by, and we were able to show off our robot and the stuff we do to them. And we were able to meet teams from different countries, like Bahrain, and develop match strategies with each other. So it was a really neat experience. And, like, the matches themselves, there was a total of 10 of them spread out through the 3 days we were there. And at the same time, we were also competing in the skill challenges. Like that's how we were able to make it 2 worlds in the first place, was our programming skills. So you were limited to 3 tries at worlds to win, and at the very end, the new game was unveiled, and it's called Toss Up. So like we had to build like a whole new robot each year because the game like changes a lot. Like this is totally different than the one from last year. So. Yeah, we're just kind of at the start over.
I'm Tristan Tanner. I'm from the team Ninja X from Altona Middle School. We have 5 middle school students on our team from all the grade levels. We competed in 7 tournaments, including nationals and worlds. Our robot, we focused on making it a competition robot, not necessarily to win like design awards or other awards like that. But we tried to make it strong and fast to compete very well, and we won our divisional design award, build award, which basically goes to the coolest robot. So we went 7-3 at the world level with 7 wins, and we competed very closely with the top middle school robots in the world, and we made it to the middle school championship rounds, which is kind of like playoffs, but robots. So.
All right, so our team, or my team, the Arkham Asylum members, as said before, we went through 10 matches over the course of 3 days. And all these matches were very competitive and intense. We also had an interview with judges who would dictate who got the design award for the entire program. And we used these posters to help explain how we designed our robot and the steps we took to do it. And we ended up winning our divisional design award out of, 60 teams, 60 high school teams. Then we went on to win the entire World Design Award, which was judged out of every single team in there. And so the Design Award is presented to a team that demonstrates an organized and professional approach to the design process, project, and time management and team organization. So here's a picture of us accepting our award in front of, thousands of our peers. And this is a really big deal. It's the second highest award you can achieve in the entire tournament. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Wow.
Get this guy to come up.
Hello, I'm David Tanner. I'm one of the mentors that we have for our 3 robotics teams. But we have a total of about 10 mentors, which all come together to help these kids and do all this great stuff that you've got to see here tonight. What really brings us together is all for different reasons. You've got to see a lot of it. Some of it has to do with, just learning engineering theory. A lot of us think that that's really important and something that these kids can really apply further on, and kind of STEM principles. They also get to do a lot of fairly complex programming, things that frankly I don't understand, but fortunately we have some guys who do. And then we have the ability to work in competitive environments that you got to hear about, but these are environments that are really pressure cookers. These kids are getting up there in front of hundreds of people and trying to perform well, and guess what? These robots don't always work right. And so consequently, they have to try to figure things out. And this is a really a unique opportunity, and I think that's what brings us all together in order to help these kids. We really think it's great.
Can you tell us again, with that world tournament winning first place, how many other teams they were competing against and where the students are from?
Would you mind repeating that question?
Yeah, no, I just don't want to let that go, because I think that's pretty impressive to win first place in a world competition with, you said how many countries and how many teams?
There's 29 countries, and I believe it's somewhere in here. 720 teams.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
So there's, what they said. There's 8,000 teams in the world and 720.
In what grade?
There's
What grade are you guys all in?
I'm going into 9th grade.
Going in 9th grade.
And Angelo's going into 9th grade, Garrett's going into 9th grade, and Armand and one of our other team members who couldn't make this meeting, they're going into 10th grade.
10th grade, wow.
Amazing.
And Tristan is going into 9th grade, and these guys are going to 4th grade.
We're going to be doing in the fall, devoting a week in our communities to STEM education, and we'll be partnering with a number of corporations and engineers and business folks and schools and things like that, and then it'll culminate at the end of the week with a large dinner type of an activity. And I would love to have you come and have you recognized as having won first place in the world competition among all your peers. I think that's pretty amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Do board members have comments, questions?
Well, go ahead.
No, it's amazing.
This was all at the Anaheim Convention Center? You all went to Anaheim for this event?
Yeah, we all had to travel to Anaheim, and we had to ship the robot. We put him in a box with lots of padding and stuff, and then we had to ship. Well, the robot came on the plane with us actually, and we were very afraid it was going to break during the plane ride.
Well, I happen to know that the Anaheim Convention Center is one of the largest convention centers in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that means there's a lot of people involved. That if they had it at Anaheim, there's a reason, because there's a lot of people.
Yeah, and it was actually pretty packed even in the large convention center.
That picture you saw?
Yes.
No, it's not up there. But it was of there's 8 divisions, and that was, I don't know, about 3/4 of one of the high school divisions out of the 8 there. So there was a ton of
Yes.
people and robots.
Yeah, huge.
And I've gone to conferences there before where we only had a portion of the convention hall, but for this tournament, the VEX tournament took up the entire convention hall, including the basketball arena. So, and we had it for a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Roy?
I was just going to say, if they've been invited and they're going to be recognized, it'd be wonderful. That could be a little bit of the entertainment during the dinner. If they could bring the robot and share that with all the people that are going to be in attendance, that would be perfect.
John, I will add this. I had a chance, I was back in New York this week, and I happened to be on the same flight as Ken Salazar. And he and I walked off the plane at the same time. And I chatted a little bit with him, and I reminded him that we had met at Ball Aerospace about a year and a half ago. And I will tell you, he has been absolutely blown away. Well, first of all, he was absolutely blown away by the young people at Ball Aerospace that he met with. They were sophomores, a lot of sophomores in high school. And he has been just totally impressed with what we've done in the district. And he just encourages, keep encouraging the young people to get out and do this stuff. He said it's just awesome. And so, if you don't know who Mr. Salazar is, he's on President Obama's cabinet. He's the Secretary of the Interior. So he goes back to Washington, D.C. a lot, but he is thoroughly impressed with what our district has been able to accomplish out here. So it was kind of a nice happenstance meeting.
I'm just curious, given all the different ways you all could be spending your time, why did you choose this?
Because it's awesome.
Be smart.
Well, with all the competitions that students are in and things, I always encourage
This is cool.
the students that, keep it in perspective. It may not pay your mortgage, but I think this one may actually pay your mortgage. So congratulations.
We also have those younger children come on up again. We want to see you guys one more time, too.
I wondered if they could bring their robot with them also. Yeah.
Yep, come on up here, you guys.
These kids are going to go to Mars one day,
I was one of the coaches for their team, and it's a lot different than VEX because we use little plastic parts that kind of snap together. It was actually very hard to put together and take apart, like when you mess up. And the design was actually pretty hard to make too because we don't have too many pieces, but we kept retrying and designing, and we made this robot, and they actually competed very well, and they had to compete against elementary school and middle school teams because they didn't have too many VEX IQ teams yet, since this was the first year of VEX IQ. Their game was they had to pick up tennis balls, and they scored them in these little plastic squares that were 2 different heights, and they had to climb this ramp. They could climb the ramp to score it, and they did. And
What kind of award did they win?
they won the Energy Award.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Well, congratulations to all of you. We really appreciate it, and good luck next year. I assume you're going to be getting back after it.
Thank you.
All right.
That was fun. Wonderful. It's amazing.
John, I think